The Los Angeles Gala's chandelier glow bathed the room in a false warmth, but it couldn't touch the ice within me. I'd poured millions into this night, desperate to silence the regrets that haunted my sleepless hours. Yet David's voice shattered the illusion, sharp and unyielding. "Leo nearly died. Evelyn, where were you?" His words struck like a blade, halting my breath. Beside him stood Dr. Olivia Chun, her serene strength a silent judgment against my unraveling. She held my son's hand. Leo, now 8. His eyes gliding past me, unknowing. Guilt surged, a merciless tide eroding the empire I'd built. I believed wealth made me invincible, but this moment exposed my fragility. Their bond, David's quiet resilience, Leo's vibrant survival, stood as a living testament to my absence. The gala shimmer dissolved, replaced by a fog of shame. My success was a brittle facade, raised on the ashes of the family I'd forsaken. I wasn't the conqueror I'd envisioned. I was a shadow, lingering at the edges of their radiant world. The truth sank deep, a bitter weight. I'd lost them, and myself, in my reckless flight from love. The room seemed to tilt, the gala's chatter fading into a distant hum as David's accusation echoed in my skull. Leo nearly died. The words clawed at me, unearthing memories I'd buried beneath boardroom triumphs. I saw Leo's tiny face, 5 months old, the last time I'd held him before I fled to New York. I convinced myself I was chasing freedom, but now I saw it for what it was, cowardice. Olivia's hand in Leo's was a mother's touch, one I'd never offered. My throat tightened. I was burning with unshed tears. I wanted to speak, to explain, but my voice was trapped beneath the weight of their wholeness. They didn't need me. They'd built a life without me. The realization stung sharper than David's words. My wealth, my titles, CEO, billionaire, meant nothing here. I stood frozen, a stranger in a room I'd paid to own, my heart fracturing under the truth. I'd traded love for power, and now I was bankrupt in all that mattered. Their family, forged in my absence, was a mirror reflecting my deepest failure. As David turned away, leading Leo and Olivia through the crowd, I remained rooted, the gala's lights blurring into streaks. My mind raced, replaying that night 8 years ago when I'd packed a suitcase and left Los Angeles. I told myself David was too soft, Leo too demanding, that I was meant for more. Now, seeing Leo's bright eyes and David's steady gait, I saw the cost of that lie. The guests around me laughed, oblivious to my collapse. My hands trembled, clutching a champagne flute I hadn't sipped. I wanted to run again, to hide in my New York penthouse, but something held me, guilt, or perhaps a flicker of hope. I'd built an empire to escape this pain, but it had only grown. A shadow I couldn't outrun. Their family was complete, yet I was an outsider, haunted by what I destroyed. The truth settled like ash. I couldn't undo the past, but standing here, broken, I felt the faint stir of resolve. Maybe I could face what I'd done, even if they never forgave me. My New York penthouse gleamed with sleek marble and glass, a testament to my climb from nothing to CEO. At 36, I'd carved a name in finance, my face on magazine covers, my bank account swollen with zeros. But the silence here was deafening, broken only by the clink of my whiskey glass at 2 a.m. I worked until my eyes burned, meetings blurring into nights spent staring at the city's restless pulse from my 50th floor perch. My days were a performance. Sharp suits, sharper words, yet no deal could fill the ache I refused to name. I'd won awards, dined with tycoons, but my laughter echoed hollow in empty rooms. The world saw a titan. I saw a woman alone, haunted by choices I couldn't undo. Each night, I poured another drink, watching Manhattan's lights flicker like stars I'd never reach. Success had bought me everything except peace. My heart, caged behind steel and ambition, beat with a quiet dread. I was rich, powerful, untouchable, yet utterly adrift, a stranger to myself. The ache grew sharper, a shadow of Leo's cries, David's warmth, lurking in every silent corner. My empire was a mirage, glittering but cold, leaving me to wander its halls alone, chasing a life that promised everything but delivered nothing. I lived a life that shone brightly but warmed nothing within me. The city's pulse mocked my solitude, its skyscrapers towering over a heart that had forgotten how to feel. I'd traded love for power, but power was a cruel master, demanding more while giving less. My victories were hollow, my wealth a weight I couldn't shed. I stood at my window, glass separating me from a world I'd conquered but couldn't touch, knowing I'd lost the only home I'd ever had. The hospital's sterile hum buzzed in my ears as I lingered near the pediatric ward's entrance, clutching a check for their fundraiser. I'd returned to Los Angeles, telling myself it was for business. But this place, where Leo had once fought for life, drew me like a magnet. Then I saw them. David, his shoulders broader now, guiding Leo through the sliding doors. My son, lanky at 8. Laughed at something David said, their ease a blade to my chest. They didn't see me, and I shrank behind a pillar, my pulse hammering. David's face, once soft with love, was etched with a strength I hadn't known. Leo's vibrant chatter filled the air, each word a reminder of years I'd missed. I was a ghost here, irrelevant to their world. My check felt like a bribe. A feeble attempt to buy absolution. Their laughter faded down the hall, leaving me in silence. I'd built a life to escape this pain, but it followed me, sharper now. They were whole. A family without me, and I stood outside their light, a stranger to the boy I'd birthed and the man I'd once loved. David paused at the ward's desk, his voice low as he spoke to a nurse. Leo tugging his sleeve. I watched, hidden, my breath shallow. The hospital's fluorescent glare exposed truths I couldn't dodge. I'd chosen ambition over them, and they'd thrived despite my absence. Leo's backpack bounced as he skipped, his energy a miracle I hadn't earned. David's steady hand on Leo's shoulder was a father's love, unshaken by my betrayal. I clutched the check tighter, its paper crumpling in my fist. It was nothing, just money, not time, not love. I wanted to step forward, to speak, but fear chained me. What could I say? I'd left them when Leo was 5 months old, chasing a life that now felt like a cage. Their world turned without me, complete, while I hovered at its edges, unseen. The nurse smiled at them, part of their orbit, while I remained an outsider, my heart fracturing under the weight of my own making. I turned away, the check still in my hand, its purpose hollow. I couldn't buy my way back. But their presence stirred something, a longing to face what I'd done. As they disappeared into the ward, I leaned against the pillar, my legs weak. The hospital's antiseptic scent choked me, mingling with memories of Leo's tiny cries, the ones I'd fled. David's resilience, Leo's survival, they were miracles I'd had no part in. I thought returning to Los Angeles would close the wound, but it tore it wider. My success, my wealth, meant nothing here. I was a spectator to their lives, a woman who'd traded motherhood for a corner office. The check slipped from my fingers, fluttering to the floor. I didn't pick it up. It couldn't bridge the years I'd lost, the moments I'd never reclaim. Yet standing there, invisible to them, I felt a spark of resolve. I couldn't undo my choices, but I could stop running. Their world didn't need me, but mine was crumbling without them. I took a step toward the ward, then stopped, heart pounding. I wasn't ready, not yet. But for the first time, I wanted to try, to be more than a shadow in their story. I closed my eyes in the hospital's shadow, and memory pulled me back to our old Los Angeles bungalow, its walls warm with sunlight. David and I, 25 and fearless, danced barefoot in the kitchen, his laughter soft against my ear as we swayed to Coltrane's saxophone. Leo, barely 3 months old, slept in his crib, his tiny breaths a rhythm we lived by. I'd stir pasta on the stove, David's arms around me, his chin on my shoulder, whispering dreams of a bigger house, a better life. We'd eat on the porch, plates balanced on our knees, watching dusk paint the sky. Leo's first giggle, bright and startling, made us freeze, then laugh until tears came. I'd snap photos, David cradling Leo, both asleep, their faces mirrored in peace. Those days felt endless, woven from small joys, folding tiny onesies, reading aloud, our voices blending in the quiet. Love was a language we spoke fluently, our world complete in that modest home. But even then, a restlessness stirred in me, a whisper I ignored, not knowing it would lead me to break us. The hospital's hum faded as I saw our backyard, Leo's stroller parked under the jacaranda tree. David would push him gently, singing off-key, while I sketched plans for a career I thought would define me. We'd picnic on a blanket, Leo's chubby hands grabbing at grass, his eyes wide with wonder. David's smile, unguarded, held a trust one didn't deserve. I'd felt so alive then, my heart full, yet a shadow grew, an ambition I mistook for purpose. I'd stay up late, scrolling job listings, imagining a life beyond our cozy walls. David sensed it, his questions gentle but probing. and I'd deflect, kissing him to silence my guilt. Leo's warmth against my chest as I rocked him to sleep was a tether, but not enough. I told myself I'd be back, that leaving was temporary, a step towards something greater. How wrong I was. Those moments, David's hand in mine, Leo's soft coos, were the greatest I'd ever know. Regret tightened my throat. The bungalow's glow now a distant star, unreachable. Its warmth replaced by the cold truth of what I'd thrown away. Standing there, the hospital's chills seeping into my bones, I ached for those lost days. The Polaroids I'd left behind, Leo's first smile, David's sleepy grin, were relics of a life I'd traded for ambition. I'd convinced myself I was building something lasting, but I dismantled the only home that mattered. David's patience, Leo's innocence, they trusted me, and I'd walked away, chasing a mirage. The bungalow's creaky floors, the scent of David's coffee, Leo's laughter, they haunted me now, vivid and cruel. I'd been so certain I could have both, love and power. But power left me empty, and love was gone. Regret wasn't just a feeling, it was a weight, crushing me with every memory of what we'd been. I opened my eyes, the hospital's stark light flooding back. I'd left them for a dream that became a nightmare. Those days were perfect, not because they were flawless, but because they were ours. Now, standing alone, I knew I'd never forgive myself for breaking the only thing that ever felt like home. Back in the bungalow, the warmth of our early days began to fray, though I didn't see it then. David wanted stability, a modest life, Leo's laughter, our evenings together. I craved more, my mind racing with visions of boardrooms and power. We'd argue over money. My voice sharp when he suggested saving instead of spending on my business courses. We need security, he'd say, his eyes pleading, but I'd roll mine, dismissing his caution as small. I started staying late at work, chasing promotions, while David rocked Leo to sleep alone. My silence grew, a wall between us. I'd come home to his tired smile, Leo's crib quiet, and offer curt replies, my thoughts already in New York. Once, he reached for my hand, asking what was wrong, and I pulled away, muttering about stress. My withdrawal stung him. I saw it in his furrowed brow, but I didn't stop. Ambition was my drug, and I let it eclipse their love. Each cold shoulder, each clipped word, was a brick in the barrier I built, convincing myself I was outgrowing them, not abandoning them. The tension thickened, our bungalow no longer a haven. David's paychecks went to diapers and bills, while I funneled mine into investments, dreaming of wealth. He'd question my late nights, his voice soft but heavy. Evelyn, Leo needs you here. I'd snap, I'm doing this for us. Though I meant for me. My priorities shifted, meetings over bedtime stories, spreadsheets over family dinners. I stopped cooking, leaving David to heat leftovers, his patience fraying. One night, he found my job applications for New York firms and asked, hurt, if I was planning to leave. I didn't answer, my silence louder than words. It wounded him, that quiet betrayal, more than any argument could. I'd turn away in bed, avoiding his touch, my body a fortress against his warmth. Leo's cries, once a melody, felt like chains, tying me to a life I began to resent. I told myself I'd return, that this was temporary, but each step away widened the rift. My ambition blinded me to the pain I caused. The love I was unraveling with every choice to prioritize myself over them. By Leo's 5th month, our home was a battlefield of unspoken hurts. David's eyes, once bright with love, dulled with resignation. I'd overhear him singing to Leo, his voice steady despite my distance, and guilt would flare, only to be smothered by my drive. I stopped sharing my dreams, hoarding them like secrets, while David begged for connection. My sharp words about his small ambitions, our stifling life, cut deep, and I saw him flinch, yet I pressed on. I'd leave for work before dawn, avoiding their morning rituals, my absence a wound I pretended not to see. The final straw was my secrecy. I applied for a New York job without telling David, booking a flight while he slept. My actions screamed what I couldn't say. I was choosing myself. Regret came too late, a faint pang as I packed, but ambition drowned it. I didn't know then that my silence, my withdrawal, my betrayal would cost me the only home I'd ever had. The bungalow's walls closed in, each creak a reminder of the life I felt trapped in. Leo's cries at midnight, David's gentle snores, they were shackles, binding me to a role I wasn't ready for. I'd pace the living room, my laptop glowing with New York job offers, Their promise of freedom a siren call. Motherhood suffocated me. I wasn't the nurturing woman David thought he'd married. I loved Leo, but his needs overwhelmed me, each a demand I couldn't meet. David's patience, his quiet faith in us, felt like a mirror exposing my inadequacy. I wanted to run, to shed this skin of wife and mother for something bigger, brighter. The idea of leaving sparked in me, reckless and intoxicating. I'd be Evelyn Hayes, not just Leo's mom or David's wife. Guilt gnawed, but ambition burned hotter. I'd tell myself I'd come back, that this was for our future, but deep down, I craved escape. The weight of their love was too heavy, and I was too weak to carry it. Leaving felt like breathing, a chance to reclaim the woman I'd lost or never been. In the dark, I'd watch Leo sleep, his tiny chest rising, and my heart would twist. I loved him, but love wasn't enough to anchor me. David's dreams, our family, our home, felt small against the skyscrapers I imagined conquering. I'd sit at the kitchen table, drafting resignation letters, my hands trembling with fear and excitement. Staying meant surrendering to a life of routine, of diapers and dishes, and I couldn't bear it. I'd stop touching David, my body rigid when he reached for me. My mind already halfway across the country. His hurt eyes haunted me, but I pushed them away, focusing on the life I'd build alone. I'd be free, unburdened by their needs, their expectations. The thought of starting over, of rewriting my story, was a lifeline. I ignored the voice whispering I'd regret it, drowned it with plans for New York. I wasn't running from them. I told myself I was running toward me. But each lie I fed myself widened the chasm, and I felt myself slipping, ready to leap into the unknown, leaving behind the only love I'd ever known. By Leo's 5th month, I was a stranger in my own home, my bags half packed in my mind. David's voice, asking me to stay, was a plea I couldn't hear. I'd stare at the plane ticket on my phone, its confirmation number a key to my release. Leo's cries felt like accusations, David's touch a chain I longed to break. I wanted to be someone else, someone unencumbered, soaring above the mess of feelings. The bungalow, once my sanctuary, was a prison, its walls echoing with my failures. I'd whisper apologies to Leo's sleeping form, knowing they were empty. Leaving was my only way out, a desperate bid to escape the weight of their love, my guilt, my fear. I didn't see it then, but I was running from myself, chasing a freedom that didn't exist. As I stood on the edge of departure, my heart raced with terror and thrill. I was ready to abandon everything, blind to the truth. I was breaking the only thing that could have saved me. The night I left, the bungalow was quiet, Leo's soft breaths the only sound as I zipped my suitcase. I'd booked a red-eye to New York, my job offer a golden ticket to a life unbound. David slept. Unaware, his face peaceful in a way that broke my heart. I stood over Leo's crib, his tiny hand curled, and whispered, "I'll be back," knowing it was a lie. My chest ached, but the weight of motherhood, of marriage, lifted as I stepped toward the door. I didn't leave a note. Words felt too final, too real. The taxi idled outside, its headlights cutting through the dark. I climbed in, my pulse racing with a strange elation. I was free, or so I thought, shedding the skin of Evelyn the mother, Evelyn the wife. Yet as the bungalow faded in the rear view, a hollow fear crept in. What was I leaving behind? I pushed it down, focusing on the skyscrapers awaiting me. Relief was a fragile shield, cracked by doubt, but I clung to it. Driving toward a future I believed would save me, blind to the wreckage I'd left. The plane's hum drowned my thoughts as Los Angeles shrank below, a city of dreams I'd deemed too small. My hands trembled, clutching the job contract, its promises of power a balm for my guilt. I'd planned this for weeks, each secret step, applying, interviewing, packing, a rebellion against the life suffocating me. David's last words that evening were enough, Evelyn, echoed, stinging, but I'd smiled and turned away. Now, alone at 30,000 feet, I felt untethered, a kite cut loose, soaring yet directionless. Relief mingled with panic. Freedom was thrilling, but what if it was empty? I saw Leo's face, David's trusting eyes, and my throat tightened. I'd chosen myself, but at what cost? The cabin's dim light hid my tears, and I told myself this was temporary, a detour to greatness. New York would make me whole, I thought, not seeing how broken I already was. I closed my eyes, willing the plane to carry me faster, away from the love I'd betrayed, toward toward a life I hoped would fill the void I'd carved in my own heart. Landing in New York, I stepped into a city that pulsed with possibility, its chaos a mirror to my own. My apartment, a sterile box in Manhattan, awaited, as did my new role, junior analyst. A stepping stone to the top. The skyline glittered, promising everything I'd craved, yet my suitcase felt heavier than it should. I didn't call David. I couldn't face his voice, his questions. Instead, I unpacked, hanging dresses for a woman I wanted to become. Relief faded, replaced by a restless unease. I'd escaped. But from what? Love? Duty? Myself? The city's noise couldn't drown the quiet ache of Leo's absence, David's warmth. I stood at my window, staring at lights that felt cold, and wondered if I'd made a mistake. But I didn't turn back. I buried my doubt, my fear, under ambition's weight, choosing to hide in work, in success, rather than face the truth. I'd left my heart in that bungalow, and no skyscraper could replace it. Years later, I'd learned how my leaving shattered David, though I couldn't see it as I fled. He woke to an empty bed, my suitcase gone, Leo crying in his crib. The bungalow, once our haven, became a tomb of silence, my absence a wound he couldn't staunch. Depression sank its claws deep. He'd sit in the dark, Leo's wails echoing my betrayal. Yet he rose each dawn, driven by a love I'd underestimated. He'd change diapers, warm bottles, his hands trembling with exhaustion, while grief gnawed at him. His sister, Sophia, became his anchor, cooking meals, holding Leo when David's strength faltered. She'd urge him to fight, her voice firm. Leo needs you, David. He did, for Leo. He took a second job, hauling construction materials. His body aching, but his resolve unbroken. Every dollar went to Leo's needs: formula, clothes, a future I'd abandoned. His sacrifice was quiet, unseen, a testament to a father's heart. I'd left them to drown, but David learned to swim, carrying Leo through the storm I'd caused, building a life from the ruins I'd left behind. David's world shrank to Leo's survival. Each day a battle against despair. I'd hear later how he'd sing to Leo at night, his voice cracking, songs we'd once shared. The bungalow's walls, stained with our memories, mocked him, but he stayed, refusing to let my absence define them. Sophia dragged him to therapy, where Dr. Emily Carter helped him name his pain. "You're enough," she'd say, and slowly, he believed it. He learned to braid Leo's hair, to soothe his fevers, to be mother and father. Neighbors pitched in, bringing casseroles, but David's pride kept him moving 3 jobs by Leo's first birthday. His hands calloused, his eyes weary but fierce. He'd carry Leo to the park, pushing swings under dusk's glow, their laughter a fragile victory. I'd left chaos. David forged order. His love a lighthouse in the dark. His strength, born of necessity, was a mirror to my weakness. I didn't know then, but his quiet heroism, choosing Leo over despair, would haunt me. A reminder of the man I'd betrayed, the father I'd never deserved. When Leo fell ill at 18 months, David's world teetered. I'd learned this later, the weight of it crushing me. Aplastic anemia. The doctors said, a rare beast stealing Leo's strength. David didn't break. He worked 90-hour weeks, sold his car, begged loans, all to fund treatments. Sophia stayed by Leo's hospital bed when David couldn't, her prayers a lifeline. He'd read to Leo, voice steady, hiding his terror. Dr. Olivia Chin, Leo's doctor, became their savior. Her skill matched by compassion. David's devotion, sleepless nights, endless shifts, was a love I'd never grasped. He didn't curse me, though he had every right. Instead, he built a fortress around Leo, shielding him with a strength I'd never known. I'd run from their love. David ran toward it, carrying Leo through hell. His sacrifices, his silent endurance, were a legacy I'd had no part in. A story of redemption written without me, one I'd only understand when I faced the wreckage of my choices. 8 years after I left, my name was synonymous with success, etched on Manhattan's skyline. At 34, I'd become CEO of a hedge fund, my decisions moving billions, my face gracing Forbes. My penthouse, a glass fortress above the city, gleamed with art and marble, but its silence screamed louder than any applause. I'd climb into bed at 3 a.m., whiskey in hand, eyes burning from endless deals, yet sleep eluded me. The world saw a titan, sharp, ruthless, untouchable, but I was a husk, my victories hollow. Boardroom triumphs couldn't quiet the memories of Leo's cries, David's warmth. I'd stare at the city's lights, their cold glow mocking my isolation. Medals and plaques lined my shelves, but they were dust against the ache I buried. I'd won everything I'd chased, yet lost what mattered. Insomnia became my companion. Each sleepless night a reminder of the bungalow I'd fled. My wealth bought power, but not peace. I was a queen on a throne of regret, my heart restless. Haunted by a family I'd left to thrive without me, their absence a wound no success could heal. The days blurred, meetings, galas, speeches, each a performance to mask my emptiness. I'd smile for cameras, my tailored suit's armor against the world's gaze. But alone, I unraveled. I'd scroll through news, half hoping for word of David or Leo, but found nothing. Their lives a mystery I'd no right to know. My staff feared me, my rivals envied me, yet no one saw the woman who'd wake gasping, dreaming of a crib I'd abandoned. I'd pour another drink. The burn dulling the pain, but not the truth. I traded love for ambition, and ambition was a cruel master. My body ached from tension, my mind from memories I couldn't outrun. I'd built an empire, but it was a cage, its bars forged by my choices. David's strength, Leo's survival, stories I'd later learn, cast shadows over my gilded life. They'd found light in my absence. I'd found only darkness. Each accolade, each zero in my account, was a hollow echo, a reminder that success without love was failure. I was rich, revered, but sleepless, a ghost in my own story. At night, I'd stand at my window, Manhattan sprawling below, its pulse indifferent to my turmoil. I'd clutch a photo I'd kept, a blurry Polaroid of Leo, 5 months old, David's arm around him. It was all I had. A relic of a life I'd burned. My empire was lauded, my name a brand, but I was crumbling. Sleeplessness gnawed at me, my reflection a stranger's, hardened, hollow-eyed. I'd achieved the dream I'd chased, but it was a mirage, leaving me parched. David and Leo, I'd learned, had rebuilt from my wreckage, their bond a testament to love's endurance. I had no such bond, only wealth that mocked my solitude. My heart, once full in that bungalow, was a vault, locked against the pain I'd caused. I didn't know then that their story, David's sacrifice, Leo's resilience, would soon confront me, forcing me to face the truth. I'd won the world but lost my soul, and no amount of success could buy it back. In my Los Angeles office, a news alert flickered on my screen, a local story about a construction firm's charity work. My breath caught, David's face stared back, older but steady, beside Leo, now 8. Grinning at a hospital fundraiser. The headline praised Miller Construction, David's company, for funding pediatric care. Leo, healthy and vibrant, stood with Dr. Olivia Chen, captioned as his family. My heart sank, a sharp, twisting pain. They were whole, thriving, without me. The article detailed Leo's battle with anemia, his miraculous recovery, and David's relentless work to save him. I hadn't known. How could I? I'd left them to their fate. Olivia's arm around Leo was a mother's, a role I'd forsaken. My fingers trembled. Scrolling through photos, David laughing, Leo's eyes bright. No trace of my existence. I was erased, replaced by a woman who'd stayed, who'd loved them through hell. The office's hum faded. My empire irrelevant. Their happiness, built without me, was a mirror to my failure. I'd chased greatness, but they'd found it in each other, leaving me a stranger, aching for a life I'd burned. The screen glowed, each image a dagger. Leo's smile, once mine to cherish, now belonged to others. David's strength, forged in my absence, shone in his steady gaze, no longer the soft man I'd left. Olivia, poised and warm, was their anchor, a truth that cut deeper than any loss. I clicked another link, a video of Leo speaking at the event, his voice clear. My dad and Dr. Chen saved me. No mention of me, no shadow of my name. I'd been their world, but now I was nothing, a ghost erased by time. My chest tightened, tears blurring the screen. I'd wanted freedom, but this was exile. Their joy, their family, was a story I'd no part in. I'd built a fortune, but they'd built a home. The pain of being replaced wasn't just loss. It was proof I'd been wrong. I closed the laptop. The office dark, my reflection a stranger's. I'd run from love, and love had moved on. Their light exposed my darkness, and for the first time, I felt the full weight of my regret. Alone. I replayed the video, Leo's voice echoing in my skull. My family, he'd said, and I wasn't in it. The hospital fundraiser, the same ward I'd visited, was their triumph, not mine. David's firm, born from his grit, gave back where I'd only taken. Olivia's presence, her bond with Leo, was a life I'd never know. I thought I could outrun my past, but it found me here, in pixels and truth. My success, my wealth, crumbled against their simple joy. I'd left to become someone, but they'd become everything without me. The pain wasn't just being forgotten. It was knowing I'd chosen this. I stood, pacing, the city's pulse outside my window indifferent. I'd been replaced, not by malice, but by love I'd abandoned. Regret wasn't enough. It was a fire, burning away my lies. I couldn't stay here, hiding in my empire. Their happiness, their wholeness, called me back, not to reclaim them, but to face the wreckage I'd left, to try, somehow, to make it right. The video of Leo's smile burned in my mind, a beacon pulling me from New York's cold embrace. I couldn't stay, cocooned in my empire, while their happiness exposed my emptiness. Something stirred, a longing I couldn't name, not redemption or forgiveness, but a need to face the life I'd fled. I booked a flight to Los Angeles, my hands shaking as I packed a single suitcase, leaving my penthouse's sterile gleam behind. The decision wasn't rational. It was a pulse in my chest, urging me toward the unknown. I didn't know what I'd say to David, if Leo would even look at me, but the void in my heart demanded I try. Driving through Manhattan's chaos, I felt a strange calm, as if the city's grip on me was loosening. The airport's hum, the plane's ascent, they were steps toward a reckoning I couldn't define. Los Angeles loomed, a city of ghosts, yet I wasn't running now. I was returning, not to reclaim them, but to stand in the wreckage I'd made, to see if any piece of me could still belong there, even as a shadow. Los Angeles greeted me with a sunset that painted the sky in hues I'd forgotten. Gold, pink, alive. I rented a modest apartment, a far cry from my Manhattan fortress, its simplicity grounding me. Driving through familiar streets, I passed our old bungalow, its new owner's lights glowing where ours had dimmed. My heart raced, memories of Leo's crib, David's laugh, flooding back. I didn't stop. I wasn't ready. Instead, I wandered, retracing paths we'd walked. Parks, cafes, the hospital where I'd seen them. Each step was a question. Could I face them? I had no answers, only an ache that grew sharper with every mile. My wealth, my titles, stayed in New York. Here, I was just Evelyn, a woman haunted by her choices. I didn't expect forgiveness, but I needed to see them, to know they were real, not just images on a screen. The longing wasn't for absolution, it was for truth. I'd lived a lie too long, and Los Angeles, with its warm air and painful memories, was where I'd find it. Standing outside the hospital, I clutched a coffee, its warmth steadying my trembling hands. The pediatric ward sign loomed, a reminder of Leo's fight, David's strength. I didn't go in. I wasn't brave enough yet, but I felt them. Their presence a thread pulling me closer. Why was I here? I didn't know, not fully. It wasn't to disrupt their lives or beg for a place in their world. It was simpler, rawer, a need to stop hiding. To face the woman I'd been, the one who'd left a 5-month-old and a loving husband for a dream that crumbled. My heart was a hollow drum, beating with fear and hope. I'd built a life to escape this city, but it had called me back. I took a breath, the evening air soft, and felt the stir of something new, not a plan, but a willingness to try. I'd face them, somehow. Not for their love, but for mine, to reclaim the pieces I'd lost in my flight. At a community baseball game, I spotted David and Leo in the bleachers, their laughter carrying over the crowd's cheers. My heart raced. I'd come to watch, hoping for a glimpse, not a confrontation. Steeling myself, I approached, my voice shaky. David, can we talk? He turned, his eyes hardening, Leo glancing up. Confused. We don't need you, Evelyn, David said, his voice ice. Olivia's his mom now. You made your choice. Leo clung to his arm, his face blank, no recognition in his gaze. The words gutted me. Their finality a door slamming shut. Olivia, nearby, watched silently, her presence a quiet strength I couldn't match. I'd expected anger, but this cold dismissal was worse, a complete erasure. They were a family, whole without me, their lives a fortress I couldn't breach. I stepped back, the crowd's noise swallowing my trembling breath. My return to Los Angeles had been a fragile hope, but this rejection crushed it. I was an intruder, my past with them irrelevant. Their world spun on, vibrant and closed, leaving me stranded, a relic of a life they'd outgrown. David's words echoed as I stood frozen, the game's cheers a cruel backdrop. Leo's indifference, his small hand in David's, was a sharper wound than any insult. I dreamed of a connection. A crack in their armor, but they offered none. Olivia's gentle nod, not unkind but firm, sealed my exclusion. Go live your life, Evelyn, David added, turning away, his tone final. I wanted to scream, to beg, but my voice failed. They didn't need my apologies, my wealth, my pain. They had each other, a bond forged in my absence, stronger than anything I'd ever given them. The bleachers blurred through tears I couldn't stop. I'd come back to face them, but they'd moved beyond me, their rejection a mirror to my failure. My heart, already cracked, splintered further. I was nothing to them, not a mother, not a wife, just a stranger who'd once mattered. The truth was brutal. I'd lost them not when I left, but in every moment since, and this moment, their coldness was the proof. I turned, the field fading, my hope a fading ember. Walking to my car, I felt the weight of their dismissal settle like stone. The Los Angeles sun, once a comfort, mocked my solitude. David's voice, Leo's blank stare, they were a family I'd no claim to. Olivia's role, earned through love, was a title I'd thrown away. I'd returned seeking something, truth. Perhaps, but found only rejection. Their lives were full, their laughter a song I couldn't sing. My hand shook as I gripped the steering wheel, the city's hum indifferent to my collapse. I'd built an empire, but here, I was powerless, a woman unmoored by her own choices. Their coldness wasn't cruelty, it was clarity. They'd healed without me. I drove aimlessly. The baseball field shrinking in my rear view, each mile a reminder of my irrelevance. Yet, despite the pain, a faint resolve flickered. I couldn't change their hearts, but I could change mine. Their rejection hurt, but it was a truth I needed, a step toward facing the woman I'd become. The baseball game sting lingered, but it woke something in me, a need to act, not for their forgiveness, but for my own truth. I resigned as CEO, leaving New York's glitter for a small Los Angeles apartment, its plain walls a relief after my penthouse's cold sheen. I started volunteering at the pediatric hospital, anonymous, sorting supplies, reading to kids, my name badge blank. I didn't seek David or Leo, but their presence haunted the halls. Once, I glimpsed David dropping off donations, his quiet strength a reminder of my failures. I stayed hidden, my heart racing, content to help without claiming credit. Money wasn't enough. I gave time. My hands folding blankets, my voice soothing strangers' children. Control, once my lifeline, slipped away. I couldn't force their love, only offer mine in silence. Each shift was a step toward humility, a way to honor the family I'd lost without disrupting their peace. The hospital's hum became my refuge, its purpose filling the void I'd carried. I wasn't redeeming myself, just trying to be better, to live with the woman I was becoming, one who didn't need to own their story. In the hospital's quiet moments, I'd sit in the break room. My hands raw from sorting donations, my mind on Leo. I'd overheard nurses praise David's firm for funding new equipment, and my chest ached with pride I had no right to feel. I didn't approach him. Didn't dare. My volunteering was my apology, unspoken, woven into every book I read to a sick child, every tray I delivered. I'd see families, parents clutching hands, kids laughing despite pain, and remember what I'd thrown away. Letting go of control was hard. I'd built an empire on it. But here, I was no one, and that was freeing. I didn't need David to see me, Leo to know me. I helped because it was right, not to win them back. One evening, I found a drawing left by a child, a stick-figure family, whole and happy. It broke me, but I tucked it away. A reminder to keep going. My actions were small, invisible, but they were mine, a quiet rebellion against the selfishness that had defined me for too long. Each day at the hospital chipped away at my old self, the one who'd run from love. I'd stay late, organizing files, my anonymity a shield. Once, I saw Leo at a hospital event, his laughter bright. David and Olivia beside him. I turned away, my heart full and empty, choosing to protect their peace. I wasn't here to claim them, only to give what I'd once withheld: care, presence, time. I'd send anonymous checks to the hospital, covering treatments, never signing my name. It wasn't atonement, it was responsibility. I learned to live with uncertainty, to act without expecting reward. The kids' smiles, the parents' relieved sighs, they were enough. I was no longer the woman who needed to control outcomes, to be seen. I was Evelyn, volunteering in the shadows. Finding purpose in the small, quiet acts that didn't erase my past but built a bridge toward a self I could face. Their world didn't need me, but mine needed this, to try, to give, to grow. One evening at the hospital, I was stacking books in the playroom when Leo appeared, his baseball cap tilted. I was curious. "Hey, you read to us last week, right?" he asked. His voice light but piercing. My heart stopped. He didn't know who I was, yet his question was a lifeline. I nodded, throat tight, and he grinned, grabbing a book. "Read this one," he said. Sitting cross-legged, I read, my voice trembling, his laughter filling the room. It was small, a child's trust, not recognition, but it cracked something in me. He waved as he left, his smile bright. Unaware of the storm he'd stirred, I stayed, clutching the book, tears falling. I'd given without expecting this, a moment of connection, pure and unearned. Leo's grin was a spark, fragile but real. A bridge I hadn't dared hope for. I smiled through my tears, the hospital's glow softer now, as if it held us both. This wasn't forgiveness, but it was enough, a glimpse of him, alive, happy, touching my world without knowing it. I'd keep going, not for more, but for this, a tiny thread tying me to the boy I'd lost. The next week, David found me in the hospital corridor, his face guarded but softer. "Leo likes your stories," he said, his words measured. My breath caught. He knew I was there, volunteering, unseen. "He's playing baseball Saturday. You can watch, if you want." It wasn't warmth, but it was an opening, a crack in the wall he'd built. I nodded, afraid to speak, my eyes stinging. At the game, I sat in the back, watching Leo swing his bat. David cheering. When Leo scored, he glanced my way, waving shyly. My heart swelled, tears blurring the field. His wave wasn't love, but it was acknowledgement, a small gesture that felt like a miracle. David's gaze met mine briefly, not hostile, just cautious. I smiled, tears falling, and he looked away, but didn't leave. The moment was fleeting, a touch of grace I didn't deserve. I stayed, soaking in Leo's joy, David's pride, their world brushing mine. My tears were for the years I'd lost, but my smile was for this. Leo's wave, David's nod, a fragile start I'd cherish. No matter what came next. Leaving the field, I felt lighter, Leo's wave etched in my mind. The hospital's playroom, David's invitation, they were gifts, not promises, but they shifted something. I'd spent months giving in silence, expecting nothing, and now this. A child's smile, a father's reluctant trust. I walked home, the Los Angeles dusk warm, my tears drying as I smiled. Leo's voice. His "read this one" played like a song, simple yet profound. David's offer wasn't reconciliation, but it was a door ajar, a chance to be near them, if only at the edges. I didn't need to control it, to force more. This moment, Leo's grin, David's quiet concession, was enough to keep me trying. My heart, long buried, stirred with hope, not for ownership, but for presence. I'd hurt them, but here, in this small connection, I saw a path forward. Smiling through tears, I knew I'd return to the hospital, to the field, not to claim them, but to be part of their world, however small my place might be. In Dr. Emily Carter's office, I sat clutching a notebook, its pages filled with words I'd never spoken. "Write to yourself," she'd said, "the Evelyn who left." My pen trembled as I began. "Dear Evelyn, you were selfish, scared, chasing a dream you thought would save you. You left Leo, 5 months old, and David, who loved you, because you felt trapped, unworthy of their love. I admitted it all, the fear of failing as a mother, the hunger for power that drowned their laughter. I wrote of nights I'd paced, convinced New York would make me whole, not seeing how whole I'd been in that bungalow. My ambition was a mask for cowardice, a lie I told myself to justify running. Tears stained the page as I named my regrets, missing Leo's first steps, David's quiet strength. I'd hurt them to save myself, but I'd lost everything. Writing it felt like peeling skin, raw but necessary. I was learning to face that woman, to see her flaws without hatred. Forgiveness wasn't easy, but it started here, in these words, a step toward healing the heart I'd broken long before I left them. The letter grew, each sentence a confession. You thought love was a chain, Evelyn, but it was a gift you didn't deserve. I wrote of my envy, David's resilience, Olivia's bond with Leo, admitting it wasn't their fault, but mine. I'd feared being ordinary, so I chased extraordinary only to find emptiness. My reasons for leaving weren't noble. They were panic, a desperate bid to outrun my doubts. I saw Leo's face, David's trust, and wrote, "You betrayed them, but you can't undo it. You can only try now." Dr. Carter watched, her silence safe, as I poured out my shame. I didn't want absolution, only truth. The woman who left was me, but so was the one volunteering, reading to Leo, hoping. Forgiving her wasn't erasing the past, it was carrying it with grace. My tears fell, but my chest felt lighter. I'd been running from myself, but here, in this quiet room, I stopped. The letter wasn't a cure, but a mirror, showing me a woman who'd failed but could grow, who could love again. Starting with herself. Closing the notebook, I felt a shift, fragile but real. Dr. Carter asked me to read it aloud, and my voice broke. "I'm sorry, Evelyn, for choosing fear over love." I named my selfishness. Every cold word to David. Every night, I ignored Leo's cries. I'd left to become someone, but lost who I was. Yet, I wrote, "You're here now, trying, and that's enough for today." The words stung, but they freed me, loosening the knot of self-loathing. I saw Leo's wave at the game, David's cautious nod, and knew they weren't my salvation, they were my reason to keep facing myself. Forgiveness was a journey, not a destination, and I was on it, stumbling but moving. I smiled, tears drying as Dr. Carter nodded. The woman who'd left was part of me, but not all of me. I could carry her mistakes, her fears, and still build something new. This letter, this truth, was my first step toward a self I could live with, one who dared to love despite her past. I kept volunteering at the hospital, my days filled with small acts, delivering meals, organizing fundraisers, teaching kids to draw. I didn't expect David or Leo to notice. I did it for the families, for myself, to be the woman I hadn't been. I'd send anonymous donations, covering treatments. My old wealth now a tool for good, not power. Nurses began to nod at me, their smiles warm, unaware of my past. I reconnected with old friends, like Sarah, a college roommate, over coffee. Sharing stories, not my pain. She invited me to teach finance workshops at a community center, and I said yes, helping single parents budget, their gratitude humbling me. I didn't ask for trust. Only gave what I could: time, knowledge, care. The hospital's walls, once a reminder of my failures, became a canvas for change. Each step was a quiet vow. I'd lived differently, not for applause, but for truth. People saw me anew, not as the CEO who'd fled, but as Evelyn, present, trying. Their acceptance, slow but real, was a mirror to the heart I was rebuilding, one small act at a time. At the community center, I'd watch parents scribble notes, their faces hopeful, and feel a purpose I'd never known in boardrooms. I'd stay late, answering questions, my past ambition now channeled into their dreams. Back at the hospital, I'd read to kids, their laughter a balm for my scars. One nurse, Maria, thanked me for a new monitor funded by my donation, not knowing it was mine. Her gratitude, untargeted, warmed me. I'd see David occasionally, dropping off supplies, and I'd nod, keeping my distance, respecting his space. Leo's drawings, left in the playroom, were treasures I'd study, his joy a gift I didn't claim. I didn't need their love, only to know they were safe, happy. Old friends, like Sarah, invited me to dinners. Their trust a fragile bridge I walked carefully. I was no hero, just a woman making amends, one day at a time. The community's slow embrace, parents' thanks, nurses' smiles showed me I could belong. Not as I was, but as I was becoming. Each act, each connection, was a step toward a life I could live with. Months passed, my routine steady, hospital shifts, workshops, quiet evenings with friends. I'd walk Los Angeles streets, the city's pulse softer now, its warmth seeping into me. I'd helped fund a hospital wing, anonymous, hearing families praise the donor with no need to claim it. At the center, a mother hugged me after balancing her budget, her relief a reward I'd never sought in New York. David's firm partnered with the hospital, and I'd overhear his name. Pride mixing with regret. I didn't push, didn't ask for more than I'd earned. Leo's laughter, drifting from a playroom, was enough. Friends shared their lives, their trust a gift I cherished. Not demanded. I was changing, not for their eyes, but for mine. The community saw it. Nurses called me by name. Parents sought my advice. I wasn't erasing my past, but building atop it. A foundation of small, true acts. Their new perspective, hard one, was proof I could be more than my mistakes, a woman worthy of the life I was crafting. At the hospital, I was sorting art supplies when Leo ran in, his face lit with excitement. "Evelyn," he called, my name in his voice a jolt. "Come see my drawing." I followed, heart pounding, to a wall where his sketch, a park, a family, hung proudly. He pointed, grinning, unaware of the tears I blinked back. "You're good at this," I said, and he beamed, saying, "Come tomorrow, okay?" His trust, simple and unforced, was a gift I hadn't earned. Later, David approached, his eyes cautious but warm. "We're having dinner Friday," he said. "You can join us, if you're free." My breath caught. It wasn't full forgiveness, but it was a start, a door opening. I nodded, voice gone, feeling the weight of their acceptance. Leo's call, David's invitation, they saw me. Not as the woman who'd left, but as someone here now. I left the hospital, the Los Angeles night soft, my heart full. Their trust was fragile, but real, a moment I'd hold close. A sign I was no longer just a shadow, but a woman they might let into their world. Friday came, and I stood outside David's house, palms sweating, clutching a homemade pie. Leo opened the door, shouting, "Evelyn's here," and pulled me inside. The table was set, Olivia's smile welcoming, David's nod steady. We ate, their laughter filling the room, and Leo asked me about my favorite book. I answered, my voice steadying, feeling, for the first time, like I belonged. It wasn't the bungalow, not our old life, but a new one they'd built, and I was a guest, not an intruder. David's eyes met mine, a flicker of understanding passing between us. "Thanks for coming," he said later, his tone genuine. I smiled, tears pricking, and Leo hugged me goodbye. His arms small but strong. Driving home, I replayed his Evelyn, a name spoken with trust, not obligation. Their acceptance wasn't a pardon, but a chance, a warmth I'd forgotten. I wasn't their center, but I was present, and that was enough. The city's lights glowed, and I felt anchored, not adrift, carried by their faith in who I was becoming. Leaving their house, I walked under stars, Leo's hug lingering like a promise. David's dinner invitation, Olivia's kindness. They'd let me in, not as the mother I'd failed to be, but as Evelyn, trying now. Leo's voice, calling my name, was a melody I'd never expected, a trust I'd cherish. I'd spent years building walls, but they'd offered a seat at their table, a place in their story. I didn't need to be everything to them, only something, a friend, a supporter, a woman who showed up. Their acceptance, hard-earned, was a mirror to my change, not my past. I'd hurt them. But they saw me trying, and that was enough for now. Back home, I sat, the pie's empty dish beside me, and smiled, tears falling for the years lost, but more for this moment gained. Leo's drawing. David's quiet thanks. They were proof I could belong, not by force, but by being present, by earning their trust one small, true act at a time. After dinner, David asked me to stay as Olivia took Leo to bed. We sat on his porch, the Los Angeles night quiet, a bottle of water between us. "Why did you leave?" he asked, his voice steady but raw. I swallowed, my hands trembling. "I was scared," I said. "I thought I wasn't enough for you, for Leo." Tears welled as I admitted my selfishness, the ambition that blinded me to their love. He listened, his eyes distant, then spoke. "You broke me, Evelyn." I didn't know if I could keep going. His words stung, but I nodded, owning my guilt. "How did you?" I asked, voice cracking. He paused, staring at the stars. "Leo, Sophia, Olivia, they saved me." Silence fell, heavy but honest. I cried, saying, "I'm so sorry," and he didn't absolve me, but his gaze softened. "Why come back?" He pressed. "To face myself," I answered, raw. We didn't hug, didn't promise, but we understood pain shared, not erased. My tears fell, his too, and in that quiet, we found a fragile peace. Not victory, but truth, enough to keep us talking, healing. David's porch creaked under us, each word peeling back years of hurt. "I hated you," he admitted, his voice low. "But I hated losing you more." I flinched, tears streaming, but stayed, listening. "I thought I was building us a future," I said, "but I was running from my fears." He asked about New York. "My empire," And I told him sleepless nights, empty triumphs, the void I couldn't fill. He shared Leo's illness, his terror, the nights he prayed alone. Olivia was there, he said, not to wound, but to explain. I nodded, grateful for her, ashamed of myself. Do you regret it? He asked. Every day, I whispered, my voice breaking. Silence stretched, not cold, but searching. He wiped his eyes. And I saw the man I'd loved, scarred but whole. Leo's happy, he said. That's what matters. I agreed, tears falling, knowing I'd never be his mother again, but hoping to be something. We didn't resolve it all, no grand forgiveness, but we spoke truth, raw and unfiltered. Our tears, our quiet, were a bridge, not to the past, but to a new understanding, fragile but real. As crickets hummed, David leaned back, his face softer. What do you want now? He asked. I paused, searching. To be here, I said, not to take, but to give what I can. He nodded, not promising, but accepting. I asked, can you ever trust me? He sighed, honest. I don't know, but you're trying. His words, fair, cut, and healed at once. I told him about therapy, my letter to myself. Facing the woman who'd left. He listened, his silence a gift, not a judgment. Leo likes you, he said finally, a small smile breaking through. My heart lifted, tears falling anew. I don't deserve him, I said, and he didn't disagree, but his look held no malice. We sat, the night wrapping us, two people who'd hurt and grown apart, now meeting in truth. No one won. We just were honest, broken, trying. I left, my steps light, tears drying, knowing this talk, this shared pain, was a step towards something new, not owned, but earned, a connection we'd build slowly. Word by word. 2 years after our porch talk, I stood in David's backyard, balloons bobbing for Leo's 15th birthday. I wasn't his mother, that was Olivia, her laughter mingling with his as they set out cake. But I was Aunt Evelyn, a title I wore with quiet pride. Leo hugged me, his lanky arms strong, thanking me for the sketchbook I'd given him. His passion for art now a bond we shared. David nodded, his smile easy, no longer guarded. We built something new, not the bungalow's love, but a connection, imperfect but true. I helped serve food, my hands steady, feeling the warmth of their world. Olivia and I chatted, her kindness a bridge I'd never expected. Leo leaned against me later, showing me a drawing, his trust a gift I cherished. It wasn't the family I'd broken, but when I joined, accepted for who I was now. A photo on their wall, us at a game, smiling, held no claim, just presence. My heart, once hollow, was full. Not with ownership, but with belonging, earned through years of showing up, loving them as they were. At the party, Leo's friends swarmed, their energy a reminder of his vibrant life. I watched David grill, Olivia organize games, their partnership a strength I admired. I'd spent years fearing I'd disrupt them, but they'd made room, not out of pity, but trust. Leo called me over to cut the cake, his Aunt Evelyn, warm, unforced. I stood beside him, my knife steady, tears pricking as they sang. This wasn't my old role. I'd never rock him to sleep again, but it was enough. I'd volunteered, taught, listened, showing up without demanding. David's glance, Olivia's nod, were quiet affirmations. We weren't the family of my youth, but a new one, stitched together by choice. Leo's sketchbook, filled with drawings we'd discussed, sat on a table, a small testament to our bond. I didn't need to be central, only present, a woman who'd learned to love without owning. The backyard's glow, Leo's laughter, wrapped me in a peace I'd never known in New York. A home not built on regret, but on trying, every day. As night fell, we sat under string lights, Leo telling stories, his voice bright. Olivia handed me coffee, her smile a quiet welcome. David joined us, his arm around Leo, and asked about my workshops, his interest genuine. I answered, feeling the ease of family, not forced but grown. Leo leaned into me, pointing at stars. And I felt it, connection, not perfect, but real. I'd left them once, chasing a hollow dream, but here, I'd found something truer. A drawing Leo gave me, a park for figures, hung in my apartment. Not a claim, but a gift. I wasn't their center, nor needed to be. And Evelyn was enough, a role carved from years of small acts, reading, listening, staying. My tears, once for loss, now fell for gratitude. This family, this moment, was mine, not owned, but shared. Los Angeles's night held us, and I knew I'd keep showing up, loving them, imperfectly but wholly. For as long as they'd let me. Leo's 15th birthday taught me a truth I'd missed in my years of ambition. Second chances don't fall from the sky. They're earned, carved from humility. From facing the pain you've caused. I left David and Leo, chasing a dream that left me empty, but returning, I learned to lower myself, to give without taking. Volunteering, listening. Showing up, these rebuilt me, not my wealth. David's trust, Olivia's kindness, Leo's and Evelyn. They were gifts, not rights. I'd once thought success was power, but it's this. A backyard full of laughter, a place at a table I'd once broken. Courage wasn't leaving, it was coming back, owning my failures, loving them without claiming them. Forgiveness, for myself and from them, was a slow fire, warming the heart I'd frozen. Life isn't about returning to what was, but daring to start again, imperfectly, with truth. I'm not whole, but I'm here. And that's enough. If I'd stayed in New York, I'd have missed this. Leo's drawings, David's nod, a family redefined. Second chances are hard, but they're worth every tear, every try, every quiet step forward. Looking back, I see the woman who left, a scared, selfish Evelyn, blind to the love she had. I don't hate her, I carry her. Her mistakes a map to who I am now. David's porch talk, Leo's wave, Olivia's welcome. They showed me that healing isn't erasing pain, but building atop it. My lesson is simple. Success isn't measured in dollars or titles, but in the people you dare to love again. I'd lost them, but by facing my truth, I found a new place, not perfect, but real. If you're reading this, think of someone you've left behind. A bridge you've burned. It's not too late. Reach out, not for forgiveness, but for truth. Try, even if it hurts, even if they turn away. The courage to start again is the only path to peace. I'm proof of flawed, trying here. Don't wait for the sky to open. Lower yourself. Take the step. Love is waiting, not in the past, but in the effort you make today, the heart you dare to open. So here's my plea, raw and true. If you've lost someone, if regret keeps you awake, act. Call them, right? Show up. Don't expect a welcome, but offer your truth. I did. And it brought me here, Leo's birthday. A family not mine by blood, but by choice. Like this story if it moves you, share it with someone who needs it. Leave a comment. I'm ready to try again. Your words might spark your own second chance. Mine did, in a Los Angeles backyard, under stars I'd once ignored. Life isn't about going back. It's about beginning, again and again. With the courage to face what you've done, to love despite your fears. I'm Evelyn, not the CEO, not the mother I wasn't, but a woman who tried, who's still trying. If I can, so can you. Take that step, today, and find your own imperfect, beautiful start.